Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Odom Educational Services. My name is Tamala Odom, Senior Executive Director and founder of Odom Educational Services. Thank you again for tuning in to our show this Thursday evening. We have a really good topic, and it really is centered around for our students who are going back to school. And I definitely want, if you are a parent, for you to tune in and tell other people to tune into the show, because I'm hopeful that we're going to be giving out some tips to you that's going to help your child, your student, or someone you know earn better grades for this upcoming school year. So again, if you know someone you think would be interested in this topic, feel free to tell them to call in and to view our show here on Channel 21. So let's just get right to our topic. Again, as I mentioned, we've been talking really the whole segment, the whole season, about what are some things that we could do to impact on a positive note the grades or the behavior of our students. I know in seasons prior we talked about it being a little bit of the parents' fault, the teacher's fault, the student's fault. We were kind of pointing fingers all over the place to see whose fault it was. But I think we've done a better job of this season of really just identifying ways, or giving out tips, if you will, of ways that whomever its fault it is, we have a sound plan that we can put in place in order to improve the grades of our students. Because that's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. No matter who's in charge of making the change, we need to identify what we can do together collectively to help make that change. So again, I know that schools are going to be starting soon. Some schools, Catholic schools, or some of the schools in the suburbs have already started. But again, just wanted to kind of give to you a few tips that I think could help you as parents help your students earn better grades. So first things first, we have to make sure that we're setting realistic expectations for grades. I know that sometimes we automatically assume that a child should be earning A's and B's in classes. Now, is that truly realistic if a child earned a D last school year in math, for them to automatically earn an A coming up in the same class, or a different class, math class, if you will, if they were to earn an A? Is that truly realistic? So you want to try to set realistic goals, because at the end, when that goal is achieved, you want the student to feel a sense of accomplishment. So you want to really sit down with your child once you have their their classes, and figure out what are acceptable grades for each and every one of those classes. Now, I'm a firm believer of setting expectations for any project you're doing right from the beginning, because I think that sometimes we automatically assume that our students or our children know what's acceptable or what they should be doing in classes. So if we don't give them the expectations right from the beginning, they won't know. So again, you want to set realistic expectations right from the beginning of what you expect from each and every one of those classes. My recommendation also is that if you do have those classes, if you do have the grade report, right next to each one of those classes, those grades that you expect. Okay, so if the student has a biology class, print out the schedule and put next to it the grades that you expect them to earn in that particular class. Something else you have to do is you have to be consistent. So in other words, if you say homework time is going to be at 6:30 every single evening, you have to make sure that you're consistent and ensuring that you're setting time aside every single day at 6:30. Now, of course, sometimes things come up, situations come up where it may not be consistent all the time, but you also want to make sure that for the most part that you're programming your child or conditioning them to know that this is the time that they dedicate to their homework or to their studies. I guarantee if you do that now, when they go to college, it's going to be already conditioned in them to make sure that they set time aside for them to study. So I'm going to stop there with that point because we have a caller.
Good evening, dear lady.
Hello there.
May I say something?
Sure.
It's not, you talking about math. I'll just use that as an example, okay?
Okay.
Now, maybe you cannot get that A, but you can get that B, and I can tell you a strategy how you go about doing it.
How's that?
Now, every summer, children have about 2.5 months off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you, before the school year ends, talk to the math teacher, get the math book during the summer. If they have something like a syllabus, find out what they're going to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe during that 2.5 months, maybe they could be 2 chapters ahead
Mm-hmm.
of everyone else and understand the material.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd be off of everybody else's schedule, and they'd be on their own schedule, and they'd be in a much better position. They have there's a lot of different self-help books out there. If they're not doing too well in English, guess what? Go to Borders, go to Crown. There's a lot of CDs out there that can help you. And I don't get one other tip.
Okay.
Now, you were talking about there's a lot of college students getting ready to go back. Now, the average college student spend $900 for textbooks. Now, I won't tell you how you can spend about 10% of that.
Okay.
What you do is this. Don't go to the bookstore, okay? Now, it's a big ripoff. Now, if you know what books you're going to need, go to Amazon, because those books that you would be paying like $900, you can get for $90. And then maybe, depends on your particular situation, maybe it may not be wise to buy the books. Maybe you can rent the book. Now, there's a website called textbooks.com where you can subscribe to the books. All right? It depends on your situation, all right? Now, what sense does it make to buy $900 worth of books when it comes time to sell those books back? You lucky to get $300.
Right.
But yet, if you go buy those books used, they're going to cost you $600. You see my point?
Absolutely. I agree with your point. I always tell students that your bookstore is like a car lot. When you purchase it, it's going to be very expensive. But then when you try to trade it in, they're not going to give you much for it. So there's two suggestions that I like to add on to the comments that Joe mentioned. Number one is you might want to find a friend who is taking that class before you, and you might want to purchase the book from them. All right, because I'm sure whatever you offer them is going to be more than what they're going to get from the bookstore, and it's still going to be at a discount to you. That's number one thing that you can do. Secondly, something that I did when I was in college, and I honestly didn't even get hip to it until my junior year, 2 years I did this, was I went to my library in school, the college I went to, and I would check out the previous edition of that book. So just to give an example, if on my syllabus, my professor said that we're using the psychology book 5th edition, I would go and check out the 4th edition in the school library. Now, what really was the difference was the cover was a different color, and maybe the pages were rearranged a little bit different, but for the most part, everything I needed was in that book, and it was just a later edition, and I got the book for free. I just checked it out of the library for the entire semester, and then just as long as it was in good condition when I returned it, I didn't have to pay for that textbook. Now, will all of your books will you be able to rent them from the library? I'm sure you won't be able to, but imagine how much money you will be able to save if you do use the later edition of that same textbook and use that throughout the classes. In addition to that, I know that a lot of schools are going to what they call ebooks. So you may again talk to a friend who is using that electronic book or has that class prior to what you have and download the book. Again, various ways in which you can save money to go to school. So again, thank you, Joe, for giving out those tips. I think we have another caller. Okay, good. So my next tip is you want to make sure as a parent that you are supportive. Now, I know that all parents are looking for their students to achieve straight A's, but again, we want to make sure that we're setting realistic expectations. Is it realistic one semester after your child maybe gotten C's and D's to get all straight A's? Maybe it could very well happen, but is that realistic? So what you want to do is be supportive, and when they do make improvements to their grades, even if it's not what you're looking for, you still want to celebrate those successes. So good job. I'm glad you can do it. It shows you can make those grades a little bit higher. So again, when your student starts to see that support, it will make them more inclined to increase their grades towards those marks that you're looking for. So that's something that you certainly have to do as well. In addition to that, follow-up is very, very important. I know this is a situation that we talk about a lot here on our show, and I know, Joe, you've mentioned a couple times too. It is vitally important that as parents, guardians, or whomever, that you're following up with those teachers to ensure that your expectations that you set at the beginning of the school year are being met. So you want to find out for sure, is your child going to classes as expected? Are they actually turning the homework as expected? Are they following up with the test and things like that? So the only way you're going to be able to fully understand that is if you communicate and follow up with the teachers. Now, I was a high school student once before. I was a grade school student once before. And just being very honest, I told my parents what I thought they wanted to hear if I didn't think they were going to follow up and check up on me. So if you ask a child if they had any homework or if they're passing their tests or they're turning in their homework, 9 times out of 10, if they don't think you're going to check up, they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. That's why it's very important, again, that you stay involved and you follow up with the teachers on your own to ensure that your expectations are being met. And once you have done that follow-up, it is very important to have a conversation with your student to ensure that they understand, this is what I found out from the teacher, this is what I'm proud of, this is what we need to improve upon. So again, you have some sort of next steps or expectations to follow for the rest of the school year. So that's our third point, but I'm going to stop and let our callers give their comments. Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Mario. I just want to make a quick comment from my personal experiences with my nephew. I just noticed that nowadays in the public schools, the kids pretty much do what they want to do, and the teachers are so young now, and they don't have the experience. But I know I'll be 30 in November, and I remember when I was in school, a teacher was like not only just your teacher, but like your mother or your guardian. They cared. They did extra things to make sure you get good grades and you rewarded and stuff like that. And I found in one experience, I went up to the school with his mom, and pretty much the teacher just let the kids run amok. And I'm like, well, if you had some kind of a structure or a little backbone, maybe my nephew could do much better. It's just like I feel that the teachers aren't pushing. It's like I have all these kids I have to deal with. I don't have time to push. I don't have time to do this. I don't have, and that's the reason why he's failing now. You know what I'm saying? And now he's ended up in a special ed program when I don't feel that he is. I feel that had it started from the beginning with the teachers, he wouldn't be in this position. I think he's very smart. He's very intelligent. He can do a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? When I talk to him, we have great conversations. But I just feel that the public school system is lacking.
Sure. Now, let me just ask you this, though. Are you or your family working towards maybe having some outside assistance given to your nephew?
Well, I'm trying. We're between him and his mom. Me and his mom. We're pretty much picking up the slack.
Okay.
When I get off work and she gets off work, and when there's homework and other things. I mean, he really, like I said, he's really smart and intelligent.
Sure.
And here in the house, we teach them a lot of things. I mean, and they go a lot of places, and they travel a lot of places. I just feel that the teachers aren't backing that up. Like, I have to do it all when he's 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever, how many hours in school. I have to pretty much be the teacher after school. And if I can do it, the teachers certainly and the staff certainly can do it.
Got it. Now, I want to just challenge you just a tad bit. I know that you mentioned that the teachers appear to be younger nowadays in the school system. Now, if you really think about it, the age requirements or the requirements, the collegiate requirements to be a teacher haven't changed. So I don't necessarily agree that the teachers their ages have changed. I think that our students have become more mature because they have had to raise themselves. So if you think about it, when we were in grade school, we probably were a little bit more like children. And nowadays you see more students who have to help raise their younger siblings. So because of that, they're more mature. In addition to that, I'm wondering if teachers are maybe not willing to discipline or really challenge our students as much, and they're kind of stepping back because of the parents. I've seen or witnessed myself where parents are taking up for their children without even hearing the teachers out. So that kind of makes it tough to stand up and really be able to teach the curriculum when if you slap the hand, and when I say slap, not actually slap, but if you really discipline or you really put your foot down as a teacher, then the next day you have an irate parent in your face. I think it makes it a little bit tough for that teacher to really own that classroom and be able to teach their children. But I'm sure your nephew's case may be a little bit different, but that's just kind of my